Thank God for sanity. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvikacharya Sterasada Shri Srimada's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Siko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Ki Jai Jai Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shai Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navdeep Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 48. This is Krishna pleases his devotees. Text number 19. Atma Shrishtam idam vishvam anva vishvya swashakti bi iyate bahuda brahman shruta pratyaksha gocharam Atma Shrishtam idam vishvam Anva Vishya Swachakti bi Iyate Bahuda Brahman Shrutata Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam Atma Shrishtam idam vishvam Anva Vishya Shakti bi Iyate Bahuda Brahman Shrutata Pratyaksha Gocharam Atma Shrishtam idam vishvam Anva Vishya Swashakti bi Iyate Bahuda Brahman Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam Atma Shrishtam idam vishvam Atma Vishya Swashakti bi Iyate Bahuda Brahman Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam. Anvavishya Spasaktibi Iyate Bahuda Brahman Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam Atmashrishtam Idam Vishvam Anvavishya Spasaktibi Iyate Bahuda Brahman Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam Atmashrishtam, created by you. Idam, this. Vishvam, universe. Anvavishya, subsequently entering. Swa, with your own. Shakti bihi, energies. Iyate, you are perceived. Bahuda, manifold. Brahman, O Supreme. Shruta, by hearing from Scripture. Pratyaksha, and by direct perception. Gocharam, knowable. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. O Supreme Absolute Truth, with your personal energies, you create this universe and then enter into it. Thus, one can perceive you in many different forms by hearing from authorities and by direct experience. Please repeat. O Supreme Absolute Truth, with your personal energies, you create this universe and then enter into it. Thus, one can perceive you in many different forms by hearing from authorities and by direct experience. Purport. The grammatical agreement of Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam in the neuter case with Atma Shrishtam Idam Vishvam indicates that the Supreme Lord, by entering his creation with his potencies, makes himself perceivable within the universe. Throughout the Bhagavatam and other authorized Vedic literatures, we often find descriptions of the Lord's simultaneous supremacy over all other things and his identity with them. We cannot reasonably draw any other conclusion from Vedic literature than the one powerfully preached by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Abheda Bheda Tattva. That is, the Absolute Truth is greater than and distinct from everything, since he is the omnipotent creator and controller of all, and simultaneously one with everything, since all that exists is the expansion of his own power. Throughout these chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, we also observe one of the unique, extraordinary features of this great work. Whether Krishna is sending his message to the gopis or accepting the prayers of Akrura, there is constant philosophical discussion. Throughout the Bhagavatam, the steady combination of fascinating pastimes with persistent spiritual philosophy is an extraordinary feature. We are allowed to glimpse and even to relish the spiritual emotions of the Lord and his liberated associates, and yet we are constantly reminded of their ontological position, lest we lapse into a cheap anthropomorphic vision. Thus, it is entirely in the character within the work that Akrura, in his ecstasy, glorifies the Lord with precise philosophical prayers. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyanan Ganan Shalakaya Chakshu Ummitangena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharani Nirvasesa Shunyavadi Prashadeshcharni Vanchakalpa Charubhyas Cha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I will, before beginning, we'll read the short tikas of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami. Sanatana Goswami's tika is exactly the same as Jiva's. So first, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The one Supreme Lord, through the form of the universe, becomes many. That is expressed in this verse. Having produced this universe, you enter it and reside there. You are perceived through the forms of devas, gandharvas, humans, and animals. Because of this, the universe becomes the object of seeing and hearing. And Jiva Goswami writes, having established the non-difference of the lords from the effect known as the universe by saying nothing exists except them, Akrura now establishes that they pervade the universe as Antaryami, supersoul. You are perceived through many forms, which can be perceived by scripture and senses. Shruta Pratyaksha Gocharam is used as a modifying phrase and does not drop its neuter gender. There are some religionists who are addicted to speculation. And they may be sincere, but they're addicted to speculation about the nature of the absolute truth. When they read Scripture, they come up with so many interpretations. I'm not just talking about Mayavadis, but I'm talking about people in other traditions, Christianity or Islam or Buddhism, whatever. And they come up with so many different understandings, what they understand as the nature of God. Because God is so great, Krishna is so great, they can't possibly fit Krishna into the mundane box of their thinking. And Prabhupada had a little story for them, and I won't tell the whole story, but it's the Dr. Frog story. That Dr. Frog, he was comparing his own well to the Atlantic. When he heard about the Atlantic Ocean, he tried to imagine how big that Atlantic Ocean is in comparison to his little well. And of course, he couldn't possibly fathom how big it was. I mean, he came up with certain dimensional ideas. And ultimately, he just, Prabhupada said, blew himself up as he puffed himself up. So these mundane scholars, or even we'll say that they're sincerely trying to find the Lord, but they can't possibly understand the Lord by using their mundane mind. Some people will say that, well, these stories are made up. They're true, they're good, they're nice. All these religious scriptures are nice. And they really mean something, and ultimately there's a God behind it, but they're projections of our human consciousness. And there's that verse that Maharaj quoted a couple classes ago, and where let's see, I'll get it here, which states that the purport actually states it, that the doctrines of anthropomorphism and zoomorphism are never applicable to the to Sri Krishna or the personality of Godhead. And the verse says, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. So this understanding that somehow or other, that God is, they're thinking it's a projection of our own consciousness, that we make God in our image. And Prabhupada's saying, no, it's impossible. In fact, how could God be made, how could who could imagine that the Supreme Personality of God is a cowherd boy who plays with his friends or dances with the gopis? So if these were considered to be made-up stories, they're made up by God. In other words, Krishna makes these stories by his activities, and they're handed down to us in order to actually understand who he really is. Actually, Krishna made up everything. He makes this material world. He makes all the forms in this material world. And the Bhagavatam, in a sense, it's made up by him because it's his pastimes. It's his activities. It's his form, his lila, etc., that we're reading about so that we can actually understand the true nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in order to find that, have that understanding, as Maharaj was saying yesterday, we have to become free from envy. All the scholars in the world who are interpreting scriptures ultimately are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, we're all envious of Krishna. That's why we're here. That is the existential situation we're in. So, because when they hear a story that's so fantastic, they can't put it into their context of their way of thinking. They have to come up with some way to explain it around so they can understand it. I'm reading the 5th canto right now, and Shukadeva Goswami, he was asked by Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj says, "Explain to me the universe," and Shukadeva says, "Well, I really can't explain it. It's really complicated, but I will explain to you as far as I've heard from the authorities." And then there's a whole long description, chapters of descriptions of the universe, which do not agree in any way with what modern science says the universe looks like. In no way. And Prabhupada, if you read this, you'll notice he doesn't give too many purports. He just lets it sit as it is, because it's so fantastic by our senses that we can't even possibly fathom it. And Prabhupada, a few times would say, we have to accept the scriptural understandings, because the scientists' understandings change every, so many generations, or even several times within one generation. And that said, I'm going to read a quote from Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada sometimes uses the modern terminologies, like he'll say the sun is 93 million miles away. Well, according to the Vedic understanding of the 5th canto, it's not. But the idea is that we have to become non-envious so that we can actually take in what's being given to us from a source that cannot be evaluated with our material consciousness. It's beyond our material consciousness. And isn't God, that's his definition, that he's achyuta, achintya. He's inconceivable, and he doesn't fall down. He doesn't come to the material platform. And therefore, in the purport, Hridayananda Maharaj and Gopi Pranadhana, whoever wrote this purport, say that the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is achintya beta beta tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference, is key to our understanding of the absolute truth. Without this understanding that we can't really understand, because it's inconceivable, we're left with our own brains to try to understand things, and that's not going to give us the true understanding. I'm going to read now from Srila Prabhupada giving a class, and this class was given in Hyderabad. It's a Bhagavad Gita class from the 2nd chapter. It's given in 1972, and Prabhupada here, he speaks about Achinta Beta Beta Tattva and how important it is that we understand this. He says, therefore our philosophy is Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. Achintya, inconceivable. Just like you are trying to conceive that the whole world is God and still God is not there. That is spoken by God himself, Krishna. Matstani sarva bhutani naham teshu avastita. And that's the 4th verse of the 9th chapter. And these are verses, again, Maharaj was speaking about yesterday, how important they are. Mayam tatam idam avyakta murtina. So this impersonal feature, Brahmeti, Paramaneti, Bhagavan iti, the impersonal feature is Brahman. Sarvam kalavidam Brahma. That means sarvedam akilam jagat. Parasya brahmana shakti sarvedam akilam jagat. Just like the sunshine. You are in the sunshine. That is a practical faith. The sunshine is not different from the sun. The sun is 93 millions of miles away. But still, because you are in the sunshine, you are in sun. Can you deny it? That is the thing. You are in the sunshine. The sunshine is not different from the sun, but still, it is not the sun. That is the philosophy. Inconceivably, simultaneously, one and different. The sunshine is not different from the sun, but still, it is different. Similarly, the whole manifested, the cosmic manifestation, is God, but still it is not God. This is, therefore, it is called inconceivable, achintya. With our teeny brain, we cannot accommodate how it is one and different. We can hear from authorities, and we may have some experiences that we'll read from Bhagavad Gita. There is some way to actually experience this. But we cannot actually process this through any sort of philosophical, logical, rational method. Krishna consciousness is transcendental, which means it's beyond the plane of this material existence, but it's also transrational. It means it's beyond rationality as it's given in this world. And therefore, we have to hear from authorities, from those persons who actually have heard or know directly. Pratyaksha means direct perception. We don't have direct perception of the Supreme Lord, although we do in one sense because he's so merciful that Sri Sri Radha Golokananda, they appear to us in their Archamurti. Our eyes are good at seeing things like stone and wood and metal, and we can see trees and things like that. But we can't perceive spiritual reality, except that the Lord comes in forms that allow us to see him. It's inconceivable. People will say idols or whatever. What? Because they cannot understand that Krishna can enter into any form in this material world, because everything in this material world is made of him. He makes everything. Krishna has made up everything, including this world we live in. So, let's turn to this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, text number 4 of the 9th chapter, because it's a very important verse. It states this achintya beta beta tattva in a very concrete way. Maya tatam idam sarvam jigata avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And then Prabhupada says in his purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not perceivable through the gross material senses. And he goes on in this purport to say that if one wants to perceive the Lord, that one has to actually be under guidance of a guru. And under the guidance of the guru, by practicing Krishna consciousness, we begin to develop what is the spiritual vision. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Where we can see the Lord when we develop this spiritual vision with eyes tinged with love. With the idea is that bhakti, love of Krishna, will allow us to actually see Krishna. However, he also is in this material world, and he can also be seen in the inferior energy if we know what to look for, how to see. Because many of us, maybe all of us, certainly me, we're not really capable of coming to this platform of Premanja Charita Bhakti Vilochanena yet. There may be moments, we've talked a lot about spurtis lately. There may be moments when we pop into that, but in general speaking, we're not on that platform. And those moments may be few and far between, but you'll remember those moments, and therefore they are very important. So in the 7th chapter, which I'll refer to later, Krishna talks about how he has a material energy and spiritual energy, and he manifests himself in both places. His energy is all-pervading. But we have to understand that even though Krishna's energy is spread everywhere, and he is everything, he's not everything. And Prabhupada uses this example. He uses a king. Maybe today we should use CEO or something else like that, big head of a company. That the CEO of a company may be located in an office someplace, or he may be on the golf course playing golf. But his energy, his personality, his desires and his form, so to speak, of his concept of his company, pervade everything through his servants, through his energies, through his legal setups, etc. So that even though he's in one place, his vast empire of activity is going on under his control, even when he's not directly even dealing with it. So Prabhupada gives the example of the king. He says that, for example, the king heads a government which is but the manifestation of the king's energies. The different governmental departments are nothing but the energies of the king, and each department is resting on the king's power. But still, one cannot expect the king to be present in every department personally. And then Prabhupada says, of course, this is a crude example because it's material ultimately. So the idea is that Krishna, he's pervading everything, but his real interest isn't really here. It's being with Radha, it's being with the gopis, it's being with his friends, it's being with his parents. It's having fun forever in the spiritual world. That's his real interest. I mean, he's also interested here in the sense that there's a lot of souls who've forgotten that they actually have a connection with him, and he wants to revive our lost connection. So therefore, he appears from time to time in order to display his pastimes, so we can understand. However, we can also understand even from a very neophyte platform if we know how to look, we're directed. So if we go to the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and the beginning of that chapter, actually I'll go directly to text number 8. Rasoham apsu kauntaya prabhasmi shashi suryayo pranava sarva vedeshu shabdake purusham nishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. The syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, I am the sound in ether and ability in man. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, this verse explains how the Lord is all pervasive by his diffuse material and spiritual energies. The Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way he is realized impersonally. Then Prabhupada goes on to talk about this example of water, that the taste of water, pure water, that's a taste of Krishna. So that everyone drinks water. So if we think this water is the taste of Krishna, we have a connection with Krishna, understanding that this water is a creation of the Supreme Lord, and this taste is given by him. In classes, he's even more broad. He says that if a person drinks wine and thinks that the taste of the wine is Krishna, he's getting some benefit. Because if we connect these experiences to Krishna, then our material senses begin to perceive Krishna through material objects, and if we see that, then we can begin to understand the pervasiveness of the Lord, and how, if he's pervasive everywhere, how much love he has to be everywhere so that we can actually be in touch with him. Prabhupada goes on that one who knows God, Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and the personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference. And as Prabhupada goes on to say, that the light of the sun and the moon, if we see them as the reflection of the Lord's effulgence, we're seeing Krishna. But we should always understand that Krishna is not, this is not pantheism. Like the pantheists, they see God, everything is God. Everything is Krishna's energy. Of course, this idea that everything is God gets really contaminated with the Mayavadis. We're God. Everything is God. It's all God. I'm just a manifestation of God. I've just forgotten I'm God. This is because they don't understand Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. In Western religions, they don't understand it too, but they don't understand it in a different way. God is on high and I'm low, sinful, bad, and everything in this world is ultimately a bad thing, and it only can be redeemed by the Lord, who comes and takes these bad things and makes them good again. Well, not even good again, good period, because they're all bad. The understanding within Western religions is the soul isn't actually coexisting with God forever, but the souls are actually being created all the time. They begin at conception. That's the whole argument about abortion. And we understand the same thing. That's life. But we don't say that life is beginning the first time ever, but we understand life is going on in different bodies over and over again. But they're saying it begins, and because of their philosophy says that any life here on earth, it's contaminated beginning, completely dirty, has no connection with God unless God is so merciful to give a way to. That's wrong too. Because in that way, they get these understandings of God. Who is he? He's beyond the clouds. He's beyond the sky. The little story I've told many times when Tamal Krishna Maharaj talked to the fundamentalist Baptist minister, and he said, "No one's ever seen God." And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, "Well, actually, we can see God." And he explained Krishna. He said, "No, we've never seen God." And he said, "Well, why has no one ever seen God?" Tamal said. And he said, "Because he's so big, you can't get far enough back to see him." It's a mundane conception. But through the process of Krishna consciousness, all these mundane conceptions are kicked out. But they're kicked out only because we follow a process of purifying our consciousness, which in Kali Yuga is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We don't have the ability to do any kind of hard austerities in this age. And it's actually fortunate because hard austerities can make one hard. And hardness of heart is antithetical to bhakti. We want a soft heart for bhakti. We want a heart that melts in touch with the love of Krishna. So this chanting Hare Krishna, given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is actually the total mercy for this age of Kali. And only by this chanting do we actually prepare our consciousness to be able to understand what Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva is, so that we can apply that understanding to our reading and practice of Krishna consciousness. If I can't understand something, it's not because it doesn't make sense. It's because I can't make sense of it, because I don't have the proper vision. I don't have the proper understanding. And the example also goes, Lord Brahma, who's got more intelligence than him? No one. He's the first created living being. Well, again, there's another one. How is it that the universe first was, the secondary creation was by this person with 4 heads who's on a lotus stem? Wow, that's far out. And then that lotus, that abdomen is then bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. It's all completely not understandable if we're going to be in the box of material thinking. So Lord Brahma, when he was a little bewildered when he saw Krishna was playing with his cowherd friends in Vrindavan, and that was not his conception or understanding of the Supreme Lord, because after all, he was born from the Supreme Lord, from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and who is this playing here? So he thought he'd play a trick, and that trick, of course, was to steal the cows and cowherd boys. Then Krishna played a bigger trick and manifested himself as through his own Vishnu expansions as all the cows and calves and cows and cowherd boys, calves rather. And then Brahma was completely bewildered when he came back after what was a moment for him, a year for us, and said, what's going on here? What's going on? I can't get this. And when he comes to his senses, this is Brahma's reaction. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 21, and I'll read a few verses beginning with 24. When Lord Brahma from this universe saw this pastime of the switch, the switcheroo that Krishna played, he was astonished and struck with wonder. After offering his prayers, he gave the following conclusion. Lord Brahma said, if someone says that he knows everything about Krishna's opulence, let him think that way. But as far as I am concerned, with my body and mind, I consider it in this way. My Lord, your opulence is like an unlimited ocean of nectar, and it is verbally and mentally impossible for me to realize even a drop of this ocean. This is Brahma. What kind of drop are we going to get? We can get everything if we hear it from Krishna submissively, but we can't get it from ourselves. And then the famous verse from the 10th canto, this is verse number 38 from the 10th canto, chapter 14. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. Let them think that way. As far as I'm concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Oh, my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. It's beyond us. And then Prabhupada writes in his short purport, this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Lord Brahma, after he had stolen Lord Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, and Krishna had exhibited his transcendental opulence by recreating all the stolen calves and cowherd boys by his Vishnu Murti expansions. After he had seen this, Brahma offered the above prayer. Let the glories of Lord Krishna be. Who could be aware of all of them? His abode, Vrindavan, has many wonderful opulences. Just try to see them all. We just need to see Vrindavan through the eyes of the pure devotee. That's Prabhupada. Prabhupada left Vrindavan and brought Vrindavan to the whole world. He brought the Vrindavan vision to the whole world. Before Prabhupada, so many swamis had come and people from from India, but they'd always brought this sort of academic, speculative, Mayavad understanding. They never brought Vrindavan. They didn't bring Krishna book. Krishna book, 1969. A bunch of people. Nowadays, some of us have been in the movement for almost a half a century. When I joined the movement, an old devotee had been in the movement for 9 years. We have to understand how Prabhupada was so merciful. He gave Krishna to everyone in 1965, 66, 67. These early days. So this is the idea. We have to follow in Prabhupada's footsteps and understand, as Prabhupada is telling us to understand. Don't try to stretch our brains out. Try to let Krishna enter our hearts. And when Krishna enters our hearts, then we can actually begin to understand this inconceivable world of Krishna consciousness. And it begins serving Gurudev and chanting the holy name. Because the Guru is going to tell us to chant the holy name and serve Krishna. And therefore, the Guru is absolutely essential to our spiritual life. But absolutely essential is what the Guru's first instruction is. Chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I didn't leave any time for questions. I'm sorry. But in any case, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Bhagom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Samaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Divan Kayanti Giram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi
Sham Bhajami Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Yaputalai Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samanichi Ramane Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Vajar, Nirvisesha, Shunyavare, Ashachare Satarane. Jaya Shri Krishna Jai Tana Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Siva Sati Gaurata Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Siva Sati Gaurata Vrinda. Janando Sri Advaita Gadada Siva Sati Gaurata Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Radha, Goloka Nana Radha, Goloka Nana Radha. Jai Radha, Goloka Nana Radha, Goloka Nana Radha. Jai Radha, hey, Jai Radha, Jai Radha, Jai Radha. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Sri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paramahansa also Teta Shimad Divine Grace Prabhupada ISKCON founder Prabhupada All glories to see Guru.
Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vetaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Jayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadaram Najanam Nasundarim Kavi Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galashrudaraya Vadanam Gad Gadordaya Gira Bulakarnishitam Vabhukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlisha Vapadamratam Manastumam Adarshanam Marmata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Matpranatastu Saeva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire in the original life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name and alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord. Yeah. Hey. Oh, Almighty, oh, Son of Maharaj, no, oh, Son of Maharaj, where are we now? Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. Oh, Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I